want to say something. I can do this squat, this fancy yoga squat, with both my heels on the ground. Okay, I have my heels on the ground. I can do this. But for some reason, I can't shift my weight far enough to the front that I could do this. As soon as the pressure goes on my legs, I just... gravity just takes me. And this always makes me laugh. I don't know, it's just... like the world reminding me, you know, that it's bigger and more powerful than me, and I'm just a puny, tiny human. Yeah, no, sometimes I do this, I randomly do this just to make myself laugh. Just to remind myself to laugh about myself, because we're all just kind of silly, aren't we? Hi, I'm Jana. Glad you could make it. You know, with it being so dark this early in the morning, it feels really conspiratorial, like it's just you and me sharing secrets under the cover of night. You can tell me anything. Do you have big plans for the new year? Exciting new goals to reach? I want to make and publish 30 videos. And I want to stress this, they don't have to be any good. That's really important to me. Even if you, my dear viewers, are going to, you know, cringe from second-hand embarrassment, you just want to look away and, what is she doing? I don't care about that. I mean, I do care about you, but not enough to spare you that. No, I don't want to put the pressure on the videos to be any good. I just want them to exist. I'm a firm believer in having to produce a lot of crap before getting anywhere good. And maybe, only maybe, someday you'll even manage something absolutely brilliant. But at first, it's mostly gonna be crap, and you have to get through it. This is one of my earliest mermaids. And this is my mermaid book, which got published just last year. Like, over 20 years later. That's progress. I know you need to work through the bad to get to the good. And I know you can learn pretty much anything as long as you stick to it. It's the sticking that's the problem, really, right? Staying motivated, even if you fail. Because we don't really like being bad at something. And failure isn't fun. Or is it? When you learned how to walk, did you think, ugh, I'm constantly falling over. Might as well just lie here forever and ever until roots grow over my tiny body and the earth swallows me whole. What's the point anyways? We'll all die in the end. Maybe. I mean, it's not like you can actually remember. Still, if you can walk now, you must have learned it at some point. You know, some things are just really worth sticking to. And I congratulate your past toddler self for all that grit and intrinsic motivation. Is such a great word. Well done, you. But that's not what it's like to learn something new when you're older, right? When you're all grown up. At some point we get weird ideas like, you're not allowed to suck at something, even if you're doing it for the very first time. Or, it's not worth doing something if you cannot do it perfectly. Or, you're a failure just because you don't have success right out of the gate. We want to work out every day. But on day 5, life just gets in the way. It's just not worth to continue trying, you know? Can't do every day anymore. We already failed and that's it. Or being vegan is just too hard, so we just go back to eating meat every day. Like, there's no middle ground. Or, we've been blogging for 3 months, but only 2 people are reading, and one of them is our mom. and the other is a mysterious stranger. But let's face it, only one mysterious stranger is just not enough. So why continue? I don't want to blame the education system or capitalism or whatever. That's not what this video is about. I just feel as we get older, it becomes important to relearn how to be really bad at something, how to fail again and again, how to face our own stupidity and inaptitudes and limits, and how to laugh about it, how to enjoy it. You know, there is nothing more liberating than giving yourself the freedom to mess up. Do you know how quickly you can write a book if you don't stop to edit a single sentence? Yes, you'll end up with a trash book, of course, right? But that's still more than most people who dream of one day writing their great novel, will ever have. Plus, another word for trash book is simply first draft, right? So just because it's bad now doesn't mean you can't make it better. Plus, once you've proven to yourself you can write one book, guess what? You know you can write another one, and another, and another, and another. Yeah, it's actually quite addictive, can't recommend it. Of course, you don't always have the freedom to mess up, right? Sometimes messing up can seriously impact your career or even people's lives. Like, if you're a surgeon, I'd like for you to know what you're doing. At least during the parts of your life where you need to rearrange somebody's internal organs. Like, the rest of your life can be a fucking mess for all I care. But other people's organs, please handle with care. And this, my friends, is where hobbies come in. Welcome in, hobbies. Opportunities to fail in abundance. Early on in my illustration career, I got to illustrate alternative film posters for Let the Right One In, a Swedish horror film about a vampire child based on this book. I love the film, it's an atmospheric, dark fairy tale just as I like it. And so I decided I wanted to read the book it's based on. Here's the thing though, I'm a bit of a snob. I'm used to reading books in the original language. Yes, I only read English books. It's probably limiting my world a little bit. So anyways, instead of deciding whether I was going to read the English or the German translation of the novel, I decided I would simply learn Swedish to read the original, right? How hard can it be, eh? Actually, Swedish is comparatively easy to learn if you know German and English. Anyways, I bought the book, I put it on my shelf, and I promised myself that I would one day read it. And by now, I have. My Swedish is just good enough now that I know that I very much prefer the film adaptation. Whatever Swedish I have, I owe entirely to Duolingo. And I'm not affiliated with them in any way, I just genuinely swear by the green little owl. I also have never tried any other language apps. It's just you put a bird on something and I'll be like, yes, I will try this, thank you. I'm not sure if it's the most efficient way to learn a language, but it's a masterclass in gamification. If learning a language is an intimidating endeavor and you don't know where to start, playing Duolingo certainly isn't. And it's a lovely introduction to learning a language. And it's a lovely introduction to learning how to fail again. Now, because it's a game, it's taking languages out of the context of school and homework and like failing tests. If you suck at Duolingo, nothing happens. You don't get bad grades, and nobody will laugh at you, nobody will judge you. You'll just make Duo sad if you break your streak of daily practice. And Duo, the owl, is not actually real, Jana. It's not a real owl. Learning languages is a great way to fail safely though, even if you don't choose to hang out with Duo. I've started learning Irish with 2 friends earlier this year. Like, we all got the same Irish book and we go through the exercises together on Discord. And one of them loves languages, the other one loves Ireland, and I just like being part of something. I just don't want to be left out, right? And Irish is so far the toughest language to learn that I have encountered. So different from everything else. The grammar is messed up, the spelling, I have no idea what that is. Also, there are like several dialects and they all pronounce things differently, and you're just sitting there like, so how do I pronounce things? Like, what's going on here? Anyways, I fully understand why that language is dying out. It's a beautiful language, but like, it doesn't deserve it, right? I would prefer for the language to live and flourish, right? But I understand. Now, the fact that it is so difficult to learn though is also what makes it really enjoyable, because you will be very, very bad at it. It's such a challenge because you have to learn everything. Again, grammar, pronunciation, spelling, everything is different from what you know, and you have to unlearn some things before you can even get into the language. Like, the instinct is that you want to pronounce things kind of English, in an English way, but that's not how it works at all. So you really have to think about what you're doing. But you'll also never need to actually use this language because so few people actually speak it, you'll never get around to that. So that's really low stakes. You can fail as much as you want to, and you will. Like, there is no way you're gonna do this perfectly, because I don't think you can. I think it's impossible. But you also really, really don't have to. Instead, you can just marvel at this weird and wonderful language and just kind of try to figure out how on earth it works. It's like a puzzle or mystery. It's a game. And for me and my friends, because we all suck at it, we're all actually quite good at, or at least we used to be quite good at learning languages, but we're so bad at this one. So we get to laugh about it together. Now, I think that learning languages is on so many people's bucket list. I can only encourage it. Learning languages is fantastic. But when you start, I'd love for you to do so with an open heart and the intention to fail really good and hard, and laugh about it. It will be so much more fun. And if it's fun, you'll just more likely to stick with it. I mean, if every time you fuck up, you're just having a laugh and a great time, well, you're gonna want to do it again, right? If every time you mess up, you just feel kind of ashamed and bad about yourself, well, you're not gonna stick to it. Don't put any pressure on yourself to do it right, and go into it with the intention to mess up really, really badly. Am I spitting? Yes. That's just my passion flowing out of my mouth. When you're doing sports on your own, there tends to, without guidance, there tends to be a higher risk of hurting yourself if you move incorrectly than when you're learning a language, right? But that was a risk I was willing to take. I will take the risk of hurting myself at home over safely working out in public any day. Thank you very much. I'm not a good example to follow, but I'm just being honest here. And that's why YouTube's very own Yoga with Adrian got to teach me how to enjoy failure. You know, what you need to know is, I mean, do you need to know it for your life? No, but just a little bit of context, right? I once vowed to myself to never do sports again, because grammar school PE was on the whole such a terrible experience that sports, shame and humiliation were linked so closely in my brain they might have been synonymous. Unfortunately, no exercise at all, particularly if you're a desk hermit like me, is just plain terrible for your health. That was my kind of baggage when I started my yoga journey, right? And when I did, I made a promise to myself. I would do everything at my own pace. And even if that meant just watching videos and not moving at all, just because my brain needed time to understand what was actually going on there, right? And I was not allowed to beat myself up when I couldn't do something on the first try, or if I just got really confused by where to put all of my limbs. Like, why do we have so many, right? I mean, they're useful, but I started out knowing I wasn't any good at it. And I would need to learn it, but I would be kind and patient to myself during the process. Because I could. Because there wasn't some guy telling me what to do. It was my own choice to do this. And I could do it by my own rules. You know what? It's actually really hard to retrain that voice in your head that tells you you're stupid for needing more time, or you're just a klutz and your body a useless sack of bones and you'll never manage anything. It's hard to be overwhelmed with new information and letting yourself be overwhelmed without feeling that instinctual rush of shame for not being able to do something. You've got to learn to let that shame pass. And it's not easy and it's not comfortable, but it's so freeing. And to be fair, it's easier if you follow a video that regularly reminds you it's alright to fall, and it's alright to take your time. So thank you, Adrian. After years of doing yoga, I still can't do crow pose. I still fall during most balancing postures. But I just laugh and try again. I have learned that trick. I also go jogging now. In public where people can see me, sweaty and messy and certainly not breaking any records. And learning Swedish, playing around with language, led actually to writing my first novel. Not because, I'm writing it on Swedish, that would be mad, but because I was doing something that was difficult. And it inspired, and some of the words just inspired me to come up with names, and it kind of jumped into world building, and it's a sprawling fantasy epic with 5 main characters or something. It's exactly what every first time novelist should get started with. Writing my novel, my big sprawling beast, gave me the confidence to write the Mermaid book, which is a much simpler creature by comparison. And writing my mermaid book has led to writing stand-up, and writing and performing stand-up has led to me leading online workshops, and my workshops have led me here. Every time you make mistakes and survive, every time you prove to yourself you can stick to something, even though it is difficult, and every time you witness yourself grow because of it, it will make you braver, and it will allow you to trust in your own ability to adapt and learn and ultimately be okay. Just remember that awkward part of your process where you're rolling around on the floor being utterly embarrassing while you try and try again. That's what will ultimately lead to the biggest steps you've ever taken. Thank you for listening.